What is the presidential line of succession? And what do the 20th and 25th Amendments to the Constitution have to do with it? We'll answer those questions on this edition of Pros and Con Law. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe on YouTube and hit the bell, which will give you notifications when the next episode drops. And also, if you're listening to this on a podcast, please leave a rating and a comment, and that will help us reach a larger audience. And as always, thank you for watching and listening. If you have any questions or comments, please email us at prosandconlaw@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter at prosandconlaw, and you can ask us questions there as well. So what is the presidential line of succession? Simply put, it is the process put in place by both the Constitution and Congress to determine what happens if the office of the presidency or the vice presidency becomes vacant. Now, the Constitution itself provided only in the event of the vacancy in the presidency, then the powers of the office would devolve onto the vice president. The Constitution then allowed for Congress to set up a system to determine what happens if the offices are further vacant. Initially, that went from the president to the vice president to the president pro tem of the Senate, and then to the Speaker of the House. In the 1800s, that was changed from the president to the vice president, and then to the cabinet secretaries in the order in which their cabinet posts were created by Congress. In the 1940s, that changed the system we have today, where it goes from president to vice president to the Speaker of the House to the president pro tem of the Senate, and then on to the cabinet secretaries. And that's pretty much the system we have today. The constitutional system itself was changed by the 25th Amendment, which was instituted in the 1960s, which allowed for the president to nominate a vice president and then have Congress approve that nomination. Now, one question that has come up recently is what happens if a president refuses to leave office, or if there's some sort of dispute over the election that means that we're not really sure who should be president as of Inauguration Day, January 20th. Well, the 20th Amendment actually set up the January 20th date, noon, by the way, on January 20th after an election, and also provided that in the event that the president-elect passes away before inauguration, then the vice president-elect becomes president. The 20th Amendment also provided that in the event that there is no person qualified to become president, then the vice president would be acting president until that situation is resolved. And in the event that both the president and the vice president were qualified, then Congress could set up a system for determining who would be acting president until that is resolved. That is currently the Speaker of the House. Now, what does it mean to be not be qualified? That could mean where there is a disputed election, where electors are disputed, and we'll get into the Electoral College in a different episode. In those circumstances, then the 20th Amendment goes into effect. The 25th Amendment, of course, has provisions for the event that a president is incapacitated. The president can send a letter to the vice president, who will then serve as acting president. This has only been used 3 times, twice by George W. Bush and once by Ronald Reagan. In each occasion, they were going in for surgery and then had their vice president be acting president until they were recovered. So what is the current line of succession, and who are those people in line? Well, of course, it goes from the president to Vice President Mike Pence, then to the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, and then to the President pro tem of the Senate, Chuck Grassley, who's the senator from Iowa. Now, initially, the President pro tem of the Senate had similar powers as the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Over time, however, this became a largely ceremonial role, which is given to the member of the majority party in the Senate who has the longest tenure. After President pro tem of the Senate is the Secretary of State, who's Mike Pompeo, and then the Secretaries of the Treasury, the Secretary of Defense, the Attorney General, Secretary of the Interior, and so on. One person who would be in the line of succession but isn't would be Elaine Chao, who is the current Secretary of Transportation. She is not a natural-born citizen, and so therefore under the Constitution cannot be president, and therefore is outside of the line of succession. And the acting Secretary of Homeland Security, Chad Wolf, he has not been confirmed by the Senate, so he's not an official Secretary of Homeland Security, and so therefore cannot actually become president in the event that it actually reaches that far. And so that's how the line of succession works. Again, it goes from president to vice president to Speaker of the House to the president pro tem of the Senate, and then to cabinet secretaries in the order that that cabinet post was created by Congress. If there are issues you'd like us to explore on constitutional law and other related issues, please feel free to email us at prosandconlaw@gmail.com or leave us a message on our Twitter @prosandconlaw. And as always, please subscribe to this channel or leave a rating on iTunes or wherever you've downloaded this podcast. And thanks again for listening to Pros and Con Law.